Hello, this is Corey with Creative Habitats Landscaping. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to look at the Hillaby Constellation Pollinator project. It is an absolute honor to be able to look at this with you guys. This is so much more than a collection of pretty flowers. This is something that I hope will have an educational opportunity to impact the way that people think about their landscape in the future. Right now, there's so much environment that's being lost as a result of development. And I look at this as an opportunity to change people's minds the way that they think about what their landscape should be around their house. So we start with trees. Now, anything that has a seed at one time had a flower, and somehow that flower had to be pollinated, whether it be by butterflies, bumblebees, or hummingbirds, whatever, it had to have a pollinator. This is where we start with the forest. But unfortunately, so much of our forest is being devastated as a result of development. And what we find is where there was once life, there is nothing but dirt and death. So what is so important is that we educate people that will be building new homes on what I call strip mine developments to put it back. But a lot of times people have a wrong idea about what their landscape should be looking like. They think that after this has been destroyed and they're left with this is the ultimate landscape that they have for their house. This is an example of development that had a fantastic opportunity to work with nature instead of against nature. See the trees that are back here? At one time they were here. If the developer had left these trees here, within a few years, what you see here would look like this. The people would have a yard that their kids could play under the shade of the trees. The kids could run around and be fascinated by the different types of fauna that would be on the forest floor. The kids could set up a swing set in here that instead of being in the hot sun going, I want to go inside and play video games, they may actually enjoy being outside. But unfortunately, our perspective of what to do with this is this. Absolute strip mine development destruction. This is what people view as a traditional landscape. A bunch of grass and a few boxwoods in front of it. But this is what you will not have with a traditional landscape. You're not going to have birds. You're not going to have bees. You're not going to have butterflies. You're not going to have any place for wildlife, for life itself to be in our yard. The only thing that you will have room for in a space like this, a traditionally landscaped yard, is for the guy that's going to come with a chemical sprayer and spread chemicals all over your yard to keep it looking perfectly green. We are so obsessed with green grass that if your grass is not green, don't worry, you can buy artificial color to make your not so green grass green. There are all of these chemicals, which although they are good tools, end up overwhelming our landscape. To the point where this is an AI generated image, but I just thought it was funny. Here we are spreading our fertilizer, having our handy bottle of chemicals, and we must wear gloves because chemicals are poison, and we must wear a mask outside in the nice fresh air because we're spreading chemicals that if we get them into our body, we will be dead like the bugs that we're trying to kill. This is a sad state of landscaping in our current paradigm. But I'm so excited to have the opportunity to do a paradigm shift of what landscaping is. In other words, what I want to do in this space at the entry of the Hillaby Constellation Power Plant is to change the psychology of what people think about their landscape. So this is a tour of my ideas, and let me get you oriented. The guardhouse is right here, and a little bit past that is the entry to this area. We start by going through a forest of beautiful pollinators. We go through this This area will be graded to be a bog. The reason why that is important is because people think that once there is a puddle in their yard, it is the end of the world. But a bog simply gives us the opportunity to have a completely different group of plants that will thrive in wet soil. After we go through the bog area, we go back into the forest, and then we continue back in the sunlight. We continue on this path towards a traditional yard. Now that seems like it's a little bit of a weird thing in an area that we're trying to promote a pollinator garden, but you'll see why later on. But this yard space butts up against wildflowers, and it butts up against grassland meadows. Once we go through the traditional yard space, we come into the teaching area. In this teaching area, the ultimate plan would be to have a pavilion where you could have a speaker that addresses different students and kids out here. And to make this area really, really amazing and fun, I've created a mountain right here. Now, it's not a crazy big mountain. It may be 15, 20 feet tall if we can get enough resources for it. But this will create a very, very interesting area where you go up a gentle slope to a promontory where you overlook the meadowland and the wildflowers. And then we would take a lot of boulders and on a relatively steep, but not too steep area, put boulders into this hillside so the kids can climb up and down them. We might even, on this side, which is gently sloped, we might even be able to put a zip line in here. And these are just ideas bigger than this initial proposal. But what I would love to do would be to integrate into the psychology of future homeowners an idea that you do not have to have a traditional yard. Now, at the Hillberry Power Plant area, there are a number of bees. My goal is with this project to make your bees fat and to produce a lot of honey. So how are we going to do that? We're going to use pollinators like sourwood. This is it in bloom in the summertime. After it's in bloom, it goes to seed, and you can see the brilliant fall colors that this has. There's also witch hazel. When your pollinators, your bees, are waking up from their winter slumber, they need a quick source of nectar. And this is one of the first things that come into bloom in early spring. Black cherry, one of my favorite landscape plants. You're never going to see this in ornamental landscaping, but it's a fantastic plant because it does bloom. But one of the drawbacks of this in a traditional landscape is it also supports bagworms. Now, I've known of people who go out there and they try to burn out the webs of those bagworms, but the bagworms are actually caterpillars. And why is this so important? Because the birds have laid eggs for the springtime and the baby birds are hatching out and they need a very juicy food supply. Well, most bugs are not juicy, they're crunchy, but baby birds have not developed the ability to chew on crunchy bugs. They need things that are soft, like caterpillars. So this is a great plant for that. There's also sassafras, beautiful fall color, has berries that will feed the birds and the bugs as well. This is bottlebrush buckeye, another great bloomer, native, that is a pollinator. Buttonbush, great wildlife supporting bush there as well. Native azaleas. Now, everyone thinks about an azalea in terms of the evergreen version that comes from Asia. But traditional azaleas are Asian. They're not native. These are native azaleas. I describe it as an azalea that wants to be a crepe myrtle. See the long trunk and then the overhead canopy? Native azaleas are azaleas that want to look like a crepe myrtle. And the beauty of these native plants are they are loved by butterflies. I took this photo at my house, and this particular native azalea was surrounded by butterflies. Redbuds, another great one. This is American Beautyberry. This is in bloom right now in late spring or late summer, early fall. These are the blooms, and these are the berries it produces. And birds love the berries, and you can eat them too. This is another one, wax myrtle. Wax myrtle was used once by the Indians as a mosquito repellent, but the blooms on this will turn into seed, and those seeds, now this is not a wax myrtle, it's a juniper, but the seeds look a lot like this. The seeds will feed birds in the springtime. This is sweet bay magnolia, another great plant for the bog. This particular tree will grow in water just about. These are traditional perennial native flowers. We have Joe Pye weed, we have Monarda, Black-eyed Susan, Liatris, Phlox divaricata. All of these are beautiful perennial plants that support wildlife. This is Dolphin Island Gara. Gara will support all kinds of butterflies. As you can see, this is whirling butterflies, Gara, and the reason why it's called that, because butterflies are whirling all around this. Monarda, the king of pollinators. I love Monarda. This was a photo taken in my own garden. It supports bumblebees. It supports other kinds of bees. Salvia, another great perennial. But what's so important about all of these plants are they provide habitat for birds. Here's a really sad statistic. Since 1970, there are 3 billion, and I use B as in bird, billion less birds. What's so sad about it is because the birds have lost so much of their habitat. You cannot have a nest for a bird in a traditional lawn. This particular nest is in a landscape, or is in a redbud bush, and when you have this, there's nowhere for this. So why it is so important that we get away from this paradigm is to bring nature back. Now, traditionally, this is what people think about. If we just try to go in and set up a wildflower garden, set up a grassland, every HOA president in the country is going to be having a conniption. So to sell the psychology of the new concept of landscaping, we have to present something to the public that they will be willing to accept. And that's why I have the traditional lawn juxtaposed with wildflowers and a meadow. And here's why. If you just try to do this in a yard or this in a yard, people will not accept it. But if you can get this next to wildflowers, if you can get this next to grasslands, if you can create this when this is not looking picture perfect beautiful, the HOA and the homeowners will be far more likely to accept the idea of having pollinators in a non-traditional, although it's the normal, landscape in a yard. Let me talk to you a little bit about the mountain. So the idea behind the mountain is we're going to have a teaching pavilion. We're going to take the boulders that are on site, and then we're going to build a mountain through here. The mountain will have a gentle slope going up. It will have a promontory here that looks out over this area, and then it'll have a little bit of a steeper area through here. It's on this side of the fence, not the opposite side, because that's asphalt. It's on this side of the fence, and it looks similar to what you see here. A gentle slope going up, and then gentle enough, but not so gentle that it's no longer interesting for kids to play on. So this is a concept drawing to where when you bring people out to educate them on this idea, it will be available. So want to give a special thanks for these people right here. They're not, a lot of my knowledge is just from 25 years of doing this, but these people here have taught me so much through their channels. I had to give them credit on this. I hope I honor you guys by what I'm trying to do here. Again, I appreciate y'all. Keep up your great work and teaching. But this has been brought to you by Creative Habitats Landscaping. Let's use this as a marketing point to bring nature back. Let's bring back those 3 billion birds that development and chemicals have killed. Let's bring mental well-being back into our yards instead of a strip mine development in a wasteland of Bermuda and zoysia grass. Let's bring beauty, nature, and happiness back. Thank you so much, Corey with Creative Habitats Landscaping.